Okay, welcome to chapter 19 of GPS for the Soul. And the title is called The Broken Heart is a Whole Heart. And what we've been talking to up until now was how to use your intellect to understand that there's a God and that God runs everything, nothing happens outside of God, and God wants the best for us. And if you know that, then clearly one will have to be happy at all times. Tamid b'simcha, always joyful. There's never a reason to be down and upset about things because it's all perfect. It's exactly as it should be. It should be perfect, right? If that's not working, like what else could this situation be, right? What else could be the problem if that's not working? And what he talks about here is called timtum halev. Timtum halev, and the word timtum is coming from atimut, which is impenetrable or dull, which basically means, a rock heart, a stone heart, right?
Mhm.
We all heard the concept of heart of stone, right? They're not attached. There's nothing emotional about it. And so, how do you get that? So let's talk about how you get that and how we get through that. But first, let's talk about the idea that one of the things that the Talmud, that the Kabbalah talks about, right, is that the Kabbalah talks about this idea of a thick log that doesn't catch fire should be splintered, right? So a thick log that can't catch fire should be splintered, meaning that when you start a fire, you start with kindling,
Mhm.
and then you get bigger and bigger pieces, and then that will power the big log to burn properly, right? But if you start with a log and you can't get it to burn, that's because you have to splinter it. You have to break it up into pieces, right? So the Kabbalah is talking about is that if a person is down and it's not fixed by understanding the big picture that there's a God and God cares and everything happens through God, it's all perfect. If that doesn't affect one's emotions, something else is at play. What's possibly at play? Ich. Ich is the German Yiddish word for I.
Ich.
Ich.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not quite like fish, but ich.
Right. And in Yiddish, we pronounce the yeah, ich.
Yeah. And
I
Kennedy
think
pronounced it. And Kennedy pronounced it ich bin ein
Yeah,
Berliner.
ich bin ein Berliner. That's where we all learned it from.
So, what's the I? What's the I concept? When a person's full of himself. When they're so full of themselves, there's no room for God to be a part of the picture. So then all the understanding about God runs the world, nothing happens outside of God, and therefore everything God does is perfect and he cares about us, so therefore this is perfect for you. None of that works if the person's all about themselves, right? In America, sometimes we talk about somebody who feels entitled.
Mm-hmm.
That entitlement feeling is when it's all about me. And so therefore I get upset because if it's all about me and things aren't going my way, then of course I get angry and I get upset or I get depressed because it's not going my way and it's all about me. Well, that's the problem. That in itself is the actual problem. So a person can't be joyful if they're not getting their way and everything's about them. So the solution, the Alter Rebbe talks about, the solution to this is a cheshbon nefesh, a deep, soulful accounting. We talked initially about, getting a proper perspective of who we are. What's the difference between a tzaddik and a Beinoni and a rasha? And here I am thinking I'm a tzaddik, I'm a good guy, right? In a court of law, I'm a good guy, right? Well, that may be in a court of law where I didn't do any actual legal transgression that I actually got caught at, right? But you and me both, we know the reality of who this guy is, right? And if we did a cheshbon nefesh, if we did a soulful accounting of what have I done with my life, we're going to find flaws. If we're going to be honest with ourselves, we're going to find flaws. And for some of us, we don't have to go too far back in history. You know, if we're thinking about horrific actions, so, you know, hopefully the older we are, the less we have of those. I remember I was talking with cadets in the character development class, and we're trying to talk about, you know, stupid things you've done, right? And so they can all think of something stupid they've done. I said, hang on, let me explain to you what I mean by stupid. And I shared with them a story about, you know, I was 18 years old.
He went away.
Yeah.
Hello.
He
Hello,
disappeared.
That story
Yeah.
that bad?
Kind
Oh,
of
we
weird
never
that
heard
it's
any
still
stories.
recording. It's still recording even though he's not on.
Mm-hmm.
He fell off
18
the
years
face of
old.
the. He fell on the side of the earth.
Mm. Well,
Rabbi, where art thou?
mm. Hello. I hope
Oh,
he
here
knows
comes
he was disconnected. Is he coming back?
Here comes my cat. My cat.
Mm.
He left us.
I hope he knows he disconnected himself somehow, or we but something that's maybe he's still talking. Here he, 10 minutes later he comes back, and well, that's how the story. Wait a minute.
Maybe he is creating an object lesson on the last topic he was talking about.
Yeah. Mm. Well,
En Humor ist, wenn man trotzdem lacht.
oh,
He magically disappearing rabbi.
mhm.
Maybe they had a thunderstorm in New Jersey and the power went out.
Oh, could be.
The quietest class I've had in a long time.
Yeah.
Daniel, where are you located?
I'm in College Station, Texas.
In
It's like
Texas.
northwest of
Mm.
Houston, like 90
Yeah.
miles.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh.
When I was in Texas, I was at the other side of Texas in El Paso.
Yeah, I was
Fort-
stationed there too. And I
Fort
actually was
Bliss.
born there too. So
Really?
yeah, my dad was stationed there and then I
Mm.
was born there, yeah.
Yeah.
I spent almost my entire military career there, all except basic training. And when I was drafted, I found out during basic training, I found out that if you re-enlist, you could actually, for a full regular Army tour, 3 years,
Yeah.
you could have some say in your MOS, and it worked out really well for me. So being a chemist by trade, they couldn't use me in a chemical corps and had wisdom, so I made them teach me electronics.
Oh, good.
Mm.
And then I
Oh.
became electronics instructor in a three-dimensional radar system for Nike Hercules and Hawk batteries, anti-aircraft
cool.
missiles.
Okay.
That was fun.
Yeah.
And then years later, when I jumped ship from my private employer to the university, I saved them a lot of money because I could do things electronically that with the help of friendly maintenance guys in St. Louis and Chicago, I didn't have to bring them out here. I could do it myself.
Oh, wow.
So I had a good career, all told. And hadn't it been
When's the
for
last time you've been out that way?
quite a long time ago.
El Paso's a whole different
Oh yeah. Well,
Yeah.
while I was there, the Mexican border was relatively safe, and we went to eat in Sierra Juarez quite a bit.
Juarez, yeah.
And look what happened now. Once I left, all hell broke loose.
Yeah, we weren't allowed to go over there. Fort Bliss originally had a brigade from 1st Cavalry Division there. They reflagged to 1st Armored Division. And that's when I showed up from Germany. I was stationed in Germany twice. And then we ended up going to Fort Bliss for my last of my contract.
When were you out there?
I was there we left Germany in 2010. So I got there 2010, left 2013 after I came back from
long
Afghanistan.
after I was there. I got there for Christmas time, 68. That's the basic training.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can I interrupt for a moment? Just called Rabbi Grossman on his cell phone.
Uh-huh.
He had the computer. His computer shut down. He's trying to log back in.
Uh-oh.
That's what I was wondering because it's still recording and it shouldn't be recording us if he logged off, you know?
You know,
Well,
he didn't
just
log
don't
off.
say-
She said it shut down. Maybe he lost power. Might have pulled the plug out. I don't know. He must
Yeah.
have. I guess if he's trying to log back in, it means he has power. So that's a good sign.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll see. Okay. Just to let you know. Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Continue, please.
No, that's okay. That's a
All right.
we were just telling war stories.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing that I don't mind being recorded. Yeah. Yeah, I spent some time in Germany too. I was born there at the tail end of the Second World War. So
Oh,
this
what parts
Jew
of Germany?
near the
Or
Dutch
what part?
border. Near the Dutch
Near the
border.
Dutch border? Okay. I
Actually,
was in Bayern, Bavaria.
Yeah.
Freistaat Bayern, der Seppelhack
Yeah.
Schüsse, so dick wie a Baum. They do not consider themselves German.
I
Yeah.
was in Germany too as a
Bavarians.
kid. I was in Germany as an army brat.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I was a brisk bicycle ride away from Roermond in Holland, near the
Oh,
Dutch
wow.
border. Yeah.
Well, maybe that was a sign from God to stop
It
telling
is.
that story.
We
I
while you
don't
were
know.
gone, we were talking trash about you.
All right.
Uh, so we
Oh.
were talking about making a cheshbon nefesh, making an accounting, right?
Mhm.
And I was telling my cadets when I was 18 years old, and we were, it was that finished final exams, and it's time to celebrate. We didn't have our graduation yet, but that in between time, and we were going up to Six Flags over Great America, over west, Six Flags,
Mhm.
the amusement park.
Mhm.
And we were at a couple of cars going up, and Bob and I were in my dad's car. And we're on the freeway at about, 60 miles an hour, heading north on the freeway. And cruise control was a new thing.
Oh.
No.
So we slid back to about 55 miles an hour. So the other guys passed us. And then we switched seats.
Did you stop? Did you
55.
stop first? Did you stop first?
No,
Oh, okay.
we
My
were on
brother.
cruise control and we
Bro.
switched seats at 55 miles an hour on the freeway.
Sure, why waste time?
Well, cruise control has nothing to do with autonomous cars,
No.
So we switched seats at 55 miles an hour and they caught up. And of course, everybody was like surprised, like, wait, who's driving? Wait, how'd you do that? Right.
How we do what?
So whatever you kids thought you've done that was stupid, no. Let me tell you, stupid, right? So it's always impressive to the kids who are not quite driving yet or just getting
That's
their
right.
license, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, that is stupid, yes.
Yeah, but you wanna talk about stupid things that you do as a kid. When I where I was living in Germany, that's near at the entrance to the Ruhr Valley, and there was a lot of heavy fighting going on. So we found a lot of refuse from the war, and we had as kids put a anvil on a fence post way in the back of the property, and when we found ammunitions, we clamped it into the anvil, took a hammer and a nail, boom, looked like a charm. I still got all my fingers.
You do, but what about the other guys?
There were no other guys.
Oh,
There were wide open fields.
you got it, yes. So that's the thing, our self-esteem can protect us when we do some really stupid things. But if we'll do an honest evaluation of who we are, that was just an example of stupid actions we've done, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's already limited to stupid things we've actually done. But stupid things we've thought about,
Ooh.
Yeah.
stupid things that we like almost did.
Uh-huh.
Oh man, there's no end to those, right? So if we have this ego, this self-centeredness, and if it's preventing us from getting an understanding and appreciation of God and his infiniteness and where we fit in the picture and the joy that we should constantly have because God's really actually running the show. And the fact that I'm still alive today, wow, that's already a miracle.
I
With all
drove
the
many
things-
a guardian angel to drink, I tell you that.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Someone was talking about the new Barbie movie that came out, and I haven't seen it. I'm not going to probably go see it, but
What a waste of life.
but at the same time,
Yeah.
my first reaction is, "What are you kidding? I didn't play with Barbies. I played with GI Joes, and we used to blow them up with fireworks."
Yeah.
So the fact that I have 10 fingers is quite amazing, you know.
Mm.
So, but the whole point here, the whole point comes back to really is that if we make a cheshbon nefesh, if we stop and think about the stupid things we've done, said, and thought, it should bring us to a reality check that would break that ego and help us understand who we really are. And once we truly actually get an understanding of who we are and stop and think about a miracle that we've survived this far, considering, then that itself should break the ego and help us understand the benefits, the blessings, the awesomeness of all that God has done for us. And then we can go back to that concept of there's a God, everything God does is good, and nothing happens outside of God. We have everything to be joyful for, and there's absolutely nothing to be depressed or down about. Everything is incredible, it's fantastic, it's amazing. And even the times when we feel really low, but that's also for our benefit, that's also for our good. And so this idea of a person not being joyful because they can't intellectually process the greatness, it comes back to their own ego, their own self-centeredness, and how important that is to be able to break that through a proper cheshbon nefesh, a proper self-evaluation of our real ego, of what we really are. And sometimes, there are some times that people will look at, especially, those of us who are Balei Tshuva, and those of us who weren't always religious in life and came to it as at age 20 for me, or 18 to 20 for me, others earlier, others later. People look at us and say, well, obviously something horrific happened in your life, and it's through that you became religious, right? No, actually not at all. But what did happen is a real cheshbon nefesh, an actual accounting of where I'm at, what I've been blessed with, and who I owe gratitude to. And with that broken spirits, not broken through trauma, but broken through a self-evaluation, we can come back to that place of really being able to celebrate God and all the good things that he has for us. So when we use the comparison, the time to use the comparison of light and darkness, right? And I like to say, you can't shovel out the darkness, but if you bring in light, it dissipates of its own. So the same thing is true with an understanding, a deeper understanding of Torah, right? If we're full of ourselves, that's darkness. That's a really dark place to be. And that's why it can be depressing, because if a person is truly full of themselves, then it's hard to get out of that. That's why we talk about someone who's feeling, again, I want to qualify, we're not talking about a chemical depression or a clinical depression. We're talking about someone who just gets depressed because life ain't going the way they want it to go, and they get sad about those type of things, right? that's a place of darkness because it all comes back to self. When we have someone who's, one of the things we talk about, someone who's not feeling, who's feeling down or depressed, one of the things we talk about is go do something for someone else, right? Go volunteer at a pet clinic, or go volunteer at the hospital. I was a teenager. That's one of the things that I did as a teenager. Is I volunteered at the hospital every Sunday for like 4 hours to go help other people. And it gave me a sense of value and a sense of purpose that gave me joy. I mean, I won't say joy in the sense of the stuff that I saw and the people I had to help, the things that went bad, but it gave me joy that I could do something about it. I could be there to help. One of my earliest memories was I volunteered in pediatrics. I was 16 years old and I volunteered in pediatrics. And there was a kid that came in who had been out playing baseball, and someone said heads up, and he looked up and he caught the ball right in the eye. And
Ouch.
he came in, and of course the emergency room covered both eyes because medically, if there's damage to one eye, they always move in pairs. So if this eye is not covered, it looks this way, that eye is moving. So if there's damage to the eye, you cover both to prevent the eye from moving at all, so the damaged eye has a chance to heal. So this kid, this 10-year-old, 11-year-old is there alone. Like, where's family? And he's there alone and scared. And so I was there. I sat with him for hours that day, just being there with him. I remember one of the questions he asked was like, what do I do if I feel like I want to throw up? And I said, well, that's a good question. And I called the nurse, and about the time I was calling the nurse, there he starts vomiting. And so we got, the side pan to vomit in and stuff like that and take care of it. Not unexpected when you think about that he got a hit, that probably got a concussion, which creates the vomit, and it's all part of the medical piece of it that I didn't know back then. I was 16. But the fact is that the nurses on staff didn't have time to spend with him the whole time, and his family wasn't there for him. So I felt, when I went home, I felt good that I was able to be there for someone in need, right? So it was sad what happened to him, and I wasn't able to follow up on the case because that's when you're a volunteer, that's not your job, but I knew I was there for him during a critical time, and that felt good. A person who's all into themselves doesn't get that sense of good feeling that comes from being able to give to others, to give of yourself to someone else. So it's one of the things we talk about when someone's depressed. First thing you do is go do something for someone else. Get out of yourself, get out of your ego, go do for others. That will bring joy. That will bring a good feeling. And that will help you get out of yourself, right? So being able to put aside yourself, that's the idea of the darkness. The darkness is being caught up with self. Light is being able to do for someone else. You go start doing for other people, you start feeling good about yourself, and oftentimes you start realizing your situation ain't that bad because you've seen worse, because you're doing for other people. And then you start to feel really good. So again, it's getting out of the ego, it's breaking the ego, it's learning to get past yourself and do something for someone else. An example here of one of the things that was interesting is that sometimes you need a rebuking, right? So we talk about when the spies came back from the job of going out and spying the land. Their assignment was to go spy the land and come back and tell us how best to go and conquer. Well, we've learned in our positivity bias class that, those 10 spies were overwhelmed by the responsibility of going from a time when they were in the desert where God took care of us. God provided food, he provided water, he provided the sustenance, everything was provided. We could be totally dedicated to spiritual pursuits. But that's not the job. The job is to go out into the world, go into Israel, and become farmers and get married and have kids and still pursue spirituality. That's overwhelming. That's too much. I mean, to get involved with the world is overwhelming. And how can you be spiritual with that? And so the spies came back with a report that the land swallows the people, because that's what happens when you get involved in trying to make a living. It swallows you up and you get carried away with it. It can't do that and be spiritual. And so they were overwhelmed and they didn't want the people to have to go through all that. And of course, that's not the plan. The plan is to go into the land and actually overwhelm and conquer. But what happens there? When they came back with their complaint, Moses barked at them. And when they got a sweet reprimand, immediately they were, oh, wait, okay, we're wrong. We're good. Let's go. Let's go up to the land tomorrow. Let's go. Let's actually get there and do that, right? They were immediately repentant. Wait a minute. How that story changed so fast? The story changed so fast because they were momentarily invested by fear. We can't do this. We can't accomplish this. It's too much. It's overwhelming. We can't do that, right? But as soon as they were that egocentric, we can't do that they got yelled at. So that broke that ego piece of we can't accomplish this. Light immediately came in and they were, okay, let's go. We're ready. Let's go. We're wrong. Let's go. Right? But sometimes it takes that barking, that reprimand, right? So how do we do this ourselves? When we're full of ourselves, we have to be able to step back and reprimand ourselves and say, stop it. Stop being all about yourself. Focus on what we're here to do, for the people we can help, the mission we can accomplish. Get out of yourself, go to that, and then you can have joy come back, because it's not about you anymore. So that's drop the darkness, let the light come in. But the light doesn't come in on of its own. You've got to do something, right? And that doing something,
It's a big flashlight.
that doing something is to focus on mission, to focus on others, to be able to overcome things. And we can do that, right? And that can bring the joy back, right? Sometimes we get judgmental about other people as well.
Mhm.
And that's where Pirkei Avos, the ethics of our fathers, say, don't judge someone until you come in their place, right? Everyone's got this challenge, this ego challenge. Everyone's got that. And so the capacity to be able to review that, see through ourselves and get past ourselves, get out of ourselves, that's an important skill set to be able to overcome, right? And to be able to look at someone else and see when they might be going through that. We have to be careful. You know, Moses knew us well enough to bark at the spies, right?
Mhm.
We have to know when we can bark at someone to get them past and when we can't. And so it all begins with, like Aaron HaKohen, to be able to reach out with strong cords of love, be able to say, you know, to be able to care enough about someone to know when you can actually bark at them. I always like to say that no one cares how much you know until they know how much you care. So first we have to demonstrate how much you care about them. And then if they know that, then we can get more serious and be able to point out where they're wrong, right?
Mhm.
We have to have enough self-love to do that for ourselves as well, but not go so far as to get egotistical, self-centered, and you know, lose sight of the real challenge here, right? To be able to get past it for ourselves. So we have to have enough self-love to be able to overcome our ego as well and be able to help ourselves. So we have to judge others favorably and be able to help them get on the right path. But we also have to understand our own selves to know when we're focused on ego, and we have to get rid of that. A healthy ego is good, but when we're all about ourselves, we're all wrapped up in ourselves, then that's when we start getting depressed because we think we are owed more. And we have to get through that part of it. So our introspection needs to make an assessment of ourselves, quantity and quality. We're always looking at quantity and quality. How many mitzvahs am I doing? How many people am I helping? What's the quality of the mitzvah I'm doing? Is my davening superficial? Is my davening actually covering something? And these are self-assessments we can do. We can't do that for somebody else. We can't be judging someone else that they need to be doing more. That's not for us to do. You know, we can do that assessment of quantity and quality for ourselves, but we can't do that for someone else. For someone else, we have to be humble. By the mission of it says we have to be humble before everyone else, and a true feeling that we're not better than someone else, and we can therefore be able to respect other people. How is it that Moses was called the most humble of all men when he was the one who talked directly with God and he's the one who gave us the Torah? How could a guy who's got all that, how could he be the most humble of men, right? Well, the answer is simple. He evaluated himself and he says, with all the capacities that I've been given, with all of the goodness and the grace and all the blessings I've been given, if someone else had that, maybe they would have done more with it. Maybe they would have done more. If I truly count my blessings, then I have to stop and think, have I done everything I could with all that? Or am I lacking?
Yeah.
And when we come up lacking, now we can have an honest evaluation of ourselves and the opportunity to turn around and be grateful for everything we've been given, but know there's more that we need to do. Bernie.
Can I quote Frank Sinatra for a moment here? There's a song I haven't heard it for a long time, but I was looking him up. There's a song, when I am worried and cannot sleep, I count my blessings instead of sheep, and I fall asleep counting my blessings. That's my contribution.
You have an audience here who likes your performance.
Remember, that's a good thing to remember too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Right. Because, and again, that comes back to that, if we're full of ourselves and we have all this ego, then we don't see all that we've been given. We don't see all that we've been granted. And then we with this feel of being entitlement that we're missing something that we ought to have, right? And as we get those feelings, then it's hard to sleep and it's easy to get depressed and, etc. But yes, count our blessings, do a real evaluation of what we've been given and what we've done with it. And might someone else have done more? And I think that real deepest evaluation really can come back to a place of joy, because we can be grateful for all the things we've been given. We can understand, again, coming back to that.
Bernard,
God,
here's your audience. You made us smile.
yeah, there you go.
That's
Bernie
Anna.
singing, sweet.
Me? Oh, me? No, not me.
Yeah, that's Bernie. He was doing the same.
Yeah. Can you sing? Action started.
She is almost nonverbal.
Oh,
Yeah.
singing helps. Yeah.
She's a very special young lady.
So
Very
we'll
special.
finish up the class and then we're going to ask Bernie to sing again.
There you go.
I don't know very many songs. We have a sing-along here every so often. Lindsay, she plays piano during lunchtime, and every so a couple of times a week she has a sing-along. But most of the songs are kind of like I can't, that's the only time I can sing anything is when I have the lyrics in front of me. Otherwise, I can just hum, and my humming is no good. And I can't whistle. Forget about that too.
But we're grateful for all the things we do have.
There you go.
And that makes us smile. And we focus not on the things that we're missing, but on the things that we do have and the joy that can bring us.
Yep, that's mommy. That's Rabbi Dover Grossman. He's a good